The antique shop crouched at the end of a forgotten alley, its sign swaying in the wind like a hanged man's whisper. Haunted objects for sale. The words were carved deep into rotting wood, the paint long bled away as if time itself had tried to erase the warning. Inside, the air was thick with dust and something darker, something that clung to the skin like invisible fingers. Lantern light flickered, casting twisted shadows over grotesque relics. A porcelain doll whose cracked lips seemed poised to murmur secrets, a taxidermied owl with glassy eyes that gleamed as if still watching, and a wedding dress yellowed with age, its torn lace rustling though no breeze stirred the shop. Behind the counter sat Silas, his gnarled hands resting on the aged wood, silver-ringed fingers tapping a slow, deliberate rhythm. He didn't look up as the door groaned open, as if he had been expecting her. Emily hesitated on the threshold. The shop smelled of old wood, candle wax, and something coppery, like blood dried into the floorboards. But it wasn't the smell that made her uneasy. It was the silence, the kind that hummed beneath the surface, thick with anticipation. She stepped inside, and the temperature dropped. Not just a chill, but a deep, marrow-biting cold. She hugged her coat tighter around herself as her breath clouded in the dim light. "Welcome," Silas rasped, lifting his gaze to hers. His eyes were sharp, too bright for someone so ancient, and his grin revealed teeth too perfect to belong in such a weathered face. "You're looking for something special, aren't you?" Emily swallowed. She wasn't sure why she had come here. She had wandered the streets aimlessly, drawn to the glow of the shop like a moth to a dying flame. But now, standing before him, she felt as if she had been summoned. "I'm just looking," she said. Silas only chuckled, a sound like dry leaves crumbling underfoot. "Aren't we all?" She turned away, drawn toward the shelves, her fingers grazing over relics whose pasts whispered to her. An old phonograph, a silver mirror smudged with fingerprints that wouldn't wipe away, a music box. Her hand lingered. The music box was unlike anything she had ever seen. Its surface was warm, pulsing as if it had a heartbeat. The carvings on its wood, roses, vines, and something else, something writhing, shifted under the light. She could almost hear it, a soft, lilting tune, just beneath the edge of hearing, like a voice calling from a locked room. "That one belonged to a bride," Silas murmured, appearing at her side with an unnatural quiet. His grin had widened, his eyes glinting with something unreadable. "She never saw her wedding night." Emily's breath hitched. "What happened to her?" Silas shrugged. "Depends on who you ask. Some say she ran. Others say he found her before she could." He leaned in, the scent of something old and rotted clinging to him. "But they all say one thing." She tore her gaze from the box. "What?" His grin stretched impossibly wide. "She liked to dance." The words sent a ripple of unease through her, but she couldn't shake the pull. Without thinking, she reached for her wallet. "I'll take it." Silas took her money with fingers too cold to be alive, wrapping the box in paper so thin it nearly disintegrated at his touch. He pressed it into her hands, his grin never wavering. "Be careful what you listen to." She left the shop, stepping into the night, the paper crinkling as she clutched her prize. The wind had picked up, howling down the alley, but beneath it, just beneath, she heard something else. The tune. Playing softly, curling around her like unseen hands. Her stomach knotted, her pulse quickening. She hadn't opened the box. Had she? She hurried home, locking the door behind her. The apartment was silent, but the silence didn't feel empty. She placed the music box on the table and stepped back, staring at it as though it might move on its own. The longer she looked, the more she noticed the carvings. The roses weren't just roses. They had faces. Twisted, screaming, their mouths contorted in agony. Her breath came short. She turned away. The tune played. Emily froze. Slowly, too slowly, she turned back. The box sat untouched on the table. Then the lid creaked open, The melody swelled, filling the room with its haunting tune. And then just for a moment she heard the soft shuffle of footsteps behind her. A breath brushed against her neck. She wasn't alone. And somewhere in the dark, someone whispered, "Dance with me."